Okay, have my phone out, it's so that I. Yeah. So we'd like to welcome you to our Pleasant View Planning Commission meeting and call this meeting. Phone out, it's so that I. Oh, what's that? Is Zoom on? Yeah. So we'd like to welcome you to our Pleasant View Planning Commission meeting and call this meeting. So that I. Oh, what's that? We can wait for technical difficulty for a minute. Yeah. So we'd like to welcome you to our Pleasant View Planning Commission meeting and call this meeting. Now you should all be very welcome. Very welcome. Oh, and we've got Dean here too. Okay, we'd like to welcome you to our Pleasant View Planning Commission meeting and call this meeting to order on this Monday, May 5th, 2025 at 6:00 p.m. My name is Julie Farr, and as Vice Chairperson, I have been requested to conduct this meeting by our Chair, Andy Neff, who is out of town and excused. Also excused are Commissioners Stolrow and Wilkinson for the record. We note that this meeting was originally scheduled for May 1st, but it needed to be rescheduled due to noticing requirements. We appreciate our administrators who carefully make sure that we comply with ordinances and the understanding of you who are applicants who may have been inconvenienced with the change. We're glad to have present Commissioner Bolingbroke, Stokes, Potter, Gosner, and Morris, so that we could have the quorum that we needed. So thank you very much. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance by, John Morris, followed by the prayer, reading her expression of thought, and John's doing that all.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful that we could be here tonight to serve the city. We're grateful to live here. We're grateful for the people that serve, work, and volunteer and help one another. We ask thy Spirit to be with us tonight. Bless each of us with wisdom and with fair judgment and with understanding. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Commissioner Morris. First of all, we've all had the agenda and they had a chance to look at that agenda. Are there any conflicts of interest that need to be declared in regards to any of this tonight? If there are no conflicts of interest, so we will proceed on. We have 3 administrative items tonight. The first one is to vacate a public utility easement. Consideration to vacate a public utility easement on a residential property located at 3060 North, 825 West. And the presenter from administration is Tammy Evison.
Okay. So as was mentioned, we have an application to vacate a public utility easement. The applicant has gone through our checklist of different entities who would have access to this easement and has gotten letters of release from each of them. The city has no intents of using the utility easement for anything from the municipal standpoint. It is a home in the RE15 zone. I believe it's just at the rear of the property that the easement runs. And staff recommends approval of the easement vacate based on these letters of release and findings.
Okay, thank you. Do any of our commissioners have questions for administration on this item?
Not a real question, but maybe just a notice and that some of those releases are actually just an allowance of an encroachment versus an actual abandonment of their easement.
Mhm. Thank you.
And I guess there is an easement down the one side of the property as well. Here's a map of the property, but they would just be vacating the rear easement.
Are there any concerns about that? Any questions?
I have no concerns with it, but my question is do we have the same issue on other lots like 22, 21? You know, because if there's obviously all the utilities are in the park strip now, so are there? So just the one house is obviously.
At this
requesting it.
point, it's just the one.
But does it go all the way
resident
further up or down, or I guess that would be north, wouldn't it?
The easement?
Yeah,
Yeah, it continues on, but it's just the one residence
Okay.
that's
Mhm.
asking for
But
the release.
but it has the potential.
It does.
Of having other requests.
Yeah.
For the same thing.
As I looked at it, the purpose of the request is because they want a larger shed than would ordinarily be allowed. So they need to cross into that easement.
Closer to the property lines.
So, any other comments? Okay, this isn't a public hearing, but have there been any comments submitted by Zoom or
No,
online?
there hasn't been
citizens?
anything that we've received.
Okay. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Okay, if so, would you like to come forward? Please state your name and address and make any comments you would like to our commission.
All right, my name's Landon Hall. My address is 3060 North, 825 West. Everything that Tammy has expressed is what we've talked about, so I have nothing further to say, unless the council has any questions for me.
I appreciate the work that you've gone to get the letters from so many people. That's certainly helpful when we do these sort of things. Okay. Is there any further discussion? Questions or discussions? If not, do we have a commissioner prepared to make a motion in regards to this item?
I'll make a motion that we approve administrative item A for that consideration to vacate the public utility easement on the noted property.
Okay, we have a motion on the table by Commissioner Cotter. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. Yeah, go ahead, Dean.
Okay, we have a second by Commissioner Stokes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. So the motion has passed unanimously. The next item, thank you. The next item on the agenda is a conditional use permit. It's consideration of a conditional use permit for a pole sign for a fast food restaurant to be located at 1496 West, 2700 North. And once again, the presenter is Tammy Hugheson.
Okay. This is an application for a conditional use permit. It is for the Chick-fil-A that is going in on the corner of 2700 South, North and Real on White. The sign package is in our building permit process right now, waiting on the approval of the conditional use for the pole sign. In checking the commercial zoning requirements, their proposed sign does meet the requirements as set forth in the C2 zone as far as height and size and location. Everything that is required in that zone, it meets. It just calls for a conditional use permit to be approved through the planning commission. And then the rest of the process will be approved through the building permit process. The sign, like I said, the height, setbacks, square footage, all of that meets the requirements of the zone, and so staff would recommend approval for the conditional use permit. Sorry, I'm trying to get to that.
I would imagine that it's an electronic sign
Yes.
similar to other Chick-fil-A's. Are there any questions for administration from any of our commissioners?
Tammy, is it the letter S? Is that the one that we're looking at? The,
It is,
in the,
yes.
okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Are there any further?
Part, I guess this is a side question, but part of their review had to do with the we mentioned electronic signs, illuminated signs, it also fits.
Yeah.
All the requirement restrictions there.
So is the applicant present from Chick-fil-A?
They are not here. I thought we were gonna have a representative from the sign company, but
Okay,
not seeing anybody pop on to Zoom or anything to log on, so.
okay. Go ahead.
I think the only question that comes to Chick-fil-A is just how they.
Yeah, and that's all been approved in the building, in the building
Previously.
permit for the building itself. This is strictly the sign, for the pole sign. But the traffic flow and everything has been through a full review.
Nice to see them moving some dirt out there.
They're going down.
So this is not a public hearing. However, have we had any comments by Zoom or?
Only that
Or-
people are excited for Chick-fil-A.
Okay. Are there any further questions? Okay. In which case, if somebody is prepared to make a motion,
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the conditional use permit for, the pole sign for the fast food restaurant located at 1496 West, 2700 North.
okay. We've got a motion by Commissioner Bolingbrook. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, man, we are quick on it tonight. Who is the second for the record? Okay. Commissioner.
My wife loves Chick-fil-A.
Everybody was really quick to go with that one, but Commissioner Gosner for the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, that has passed unanimously. And we will go on to the next item on our agenda, which is also a conditional use permit. Oh, actually, no, it's the site plan, sorry.
Yeah.
Need to text that one out. Okay, moving on. It's a site plan amendment, consideration of a site plan amendment to an existing business on approximately 1.14 acres located at 1464 West Stonefield Way. And the presenter from administration is Tammy Evison.
Okay, so this is an application for a site plan amendment for an existing, business over on Stonefield Way. They are, wanting to put a second building on their site, and so it requires them, doing a site plan amendment, obviously, and, they have submitted the plans that have been reviewed. As far as the requirements in the zone, it meets the requirements as far as, the setbacks with regard, or with exception to one, the front yard setback And they are making the correction on that. I've had discussions with them where in that zone, the setback is 20 feet from the front yard and their building is right at 20 feet. But it also states that, for a building over 20 feet, it's 1 more foot of setback for every foot of height above 20 feet. And so the total measurement of the height of the building is 24 feet. So they're going to be sending an updated site plan based on your approval here tonight to DRC for final approval of the site plan. There were a few other red lines that were added to their site plan by our engineer and our public works director that are also being addressed, and all of that will be conditional, their final approval would be conditional on them meeting those few red lines. But as far as everything else, their parking meets the requirements for warehousing, which is what their use would be. And so with the recommendation of approval, it would be based on meeting the needed, the amendments on their site plan.
Any questions, comments, or concerns for administration on this item?
I just had one minor question on that item 8 there for warehousing parking spaces. You have a gap in there, and I don't know if our ordinance reads like that, or if this is just, was the way it was put into the staff report. We have a number of parking spaces required for up to 20,000 square feet. And we have another parking requirement for something that's over 40,000 square feet, but there's nothing from 20 to 40,000 square feet, at least it's shown in number 8 there.
I'll have to check on that. This did come straight from our code.
So you're talking about number 8 warehousing.
Parking requirements, yeah.
That's highlighted here.
Yeah, it could just be in our ordinance needs a little going over or something, but
Yeah. Well, and consider this building is only 6,375 square feet. It falls into that
right,
under
lower,
20,000.
right.
But yeah, I'll take a look at it.
Authorization for us to review on that. Any other questions or comments on this? Is the applicant present on this building? This building,
I had the understanding they were going to be here. I've been in communication with them and thought they were going to be here, but
once again, it's not a public hearing, but we had any comments from
We
the
have-
public? Is anybody on Zoom? Maybe,
we have not had any comments.
okay. So if there are no other questions or comments, if somebody would like to make a motion on this item. I know our chair feels that people should be here present, but this one does appear quite clear cut. We do need to be aware, we do have those recommendations as well. You might want to take into account.
I'll move that we recommend or we approve the site plan amendment. With conditions as noted by staff and the staff report that Aaron Public Works deadlines are addressed on the site plans and the confirmation of building height adjustment from setbacks, properly noted.
Okay, we have a motion on the table by Commissioner Bolingbroke.
I'll second.
Have a second by Commissioner Stokes. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Are there any opposed? The motion has passed unanimously. So we are moving on. Now, the next one is a legislative item. So we are making a recommendation for city council, and this does include a public hearing tonight. This item was tabled on February sixth, 2025, and that's a rezone from RE 20 to RE 5. Consideration of a rezone for approximately 8.127 acres of land located at approximately 3885 North Highway 89 from RE 20, very low density residential, to RE 5, high density residential. And this has come before our commission previously, but Tammy Evison from administration can catch us up on our present.
Okay. So as Commissioner Farr mentioned, this came to the commission on February sixth, along with a zone text amendment, a draft for a new ordinance for townhome development or potential of townhome development. The zone text amendment had been reviewed by staff and had red lines and kind of had gone back and forth, a couple different iterations of it with the developers, and ultimately it was tabled and then moved forward to city council. Well, the rezone was tabled. The zone text amendment moved forward to city council, and city council looked at that proposal on April 8th and was approved with some different changes, including some of the red lines that were made. And then they adjusted the setbacks from highway and active railroad rights of way from 50 feet to 20 feet. And then the parking requirement was changed from 2.25 stalls per unit to 3.25 stalls per unit. So that passed in city council. And then now the petitioner has asked to come back with the rezone and applying the new RE5 zone to that area. So that's where we're at today. Again, it's up on Highway 89, 3885 in the apartment area, north of where the charter school is. And the zone now, with the changes that have been made into the general plan amendment or the general plan, the zone meets the requirements of the general plan, or meets the general plan there. And so in that, the staff would recommend approval of the application of the zone to the planning commission.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for administration or concerns, comments? Have you looked at it? Okay, Commissioner Stokes.
I'm comfortable with this one. It's been vetted through the city council already. I don't really see a bunch of red flags. Discussion.
I think our concerns previously, it was higher density than what we have now. And can you tell us potentially what would be the maximum density or residences? So about 14 by 8.
The ordinance states a maximum of 8 units per acre.
Oh, that was actually previously.
Yeah, that was
And they now have removed, that was kind of a sticking point the first time around. People,
yes, the approved ordinance is 8. here.
you know. I think a lot of us found that density bonus to be a little potentially confusing and
Well, and
Uh,
where this was a zone ordinance to be, that could be applied anywhere in the city, we didn't want to have,
open that door
Yeah.
for,
so at this time, it is, limited to 8 units per acre.
which would be around 64 maximum, but of course, we don't have a site plan or anything. That could change and be lower, but wouldn't be higher. And the parking is an improvement over what it was previously, which is helpful.
I guess where I was vocal before was just the location. And I realized the train is kind of moved out on this one, literally, with the rail line right next to it. I still feel, that my concern is just the location of residential in that area, and where we've designated certain parts of the city to have certain kind of functions, right? To me, this is still out of place, out of continuity, the city. So again, I realize I'm probably the
Mhm.
Well, and it is currently zoned residential.
right,
So,
and
yeah.
the history of that is why was that changed? And it was because of the charter school. And so it's kind of like this slippery slope of the intention was never to put homes there, you know. But because we changed it to one thing, now it's become something completely different. And I understand there's the whole issue with the road across, and the city's got an issue there. I understand that. I think things should be, when we talk about a master plan, we talk about, you know, again, just continuity of where things are located within the city. I feel this one is still, again, I know the train's kind of moved out with the city council, so my my vote doesn't mean a lot, but that's, yeah, those are still my concerns.
Mhm. Because your concern was that it was better served as commercial
Yeah,
property on
I'm-
Highway
You
89.
drive that corridor right there, and other than the station that's closest to 2700, everything else along that corridor on that side of the road is commercial, and it's industrial. It's not, yeah, and to me, I think it's I know we've kind of talked about the need for housing, and you know, the threats from the state, and I understand that. But to me, it's, you know, again, to me, I see this as something that just is going to stand out in the city in the future. And we're going to look at it like, what was the planning behind this? Why would we put this there, where the next plot up north of it's going to be something else, probably commercial, or, you know, who knows? I don't know what's going to go there, if that can be road or what, but those, yeah, again, those are my concerns.
Appreciate that. Does anybody else, any comments to either that or a different take on anything?
Yeah, and I welcome any other opinions, if there's people that have other thoughts on this. I know we've kind of went the rounds, and I guess I maybe agree with Dean a little bit. Maybe we've overdone this. Maybe it's a little overcooked, but
Even though it's not commercial, Chad, I like the fact that they are individually deeded townhomes. So it really is an opening housing opportunity for people that are just trying to get on the first rung of the ladder.
understood.
From my end, and this is nothing new that you have heard from me before, my end is concerns that many of these issues weren't addressed previously in the general plan change, taking into account the entire city and working with citizens. But we are where we are now. That being said, I did go down to the property and actually walked it and not walked private property, but walked the public area that I could visualize. And it is a piece of property that has potential difficulties just because of the railway tracks and other things. And that commercial growth, who knows how long that would have been. I mean, just out of curiosity, what are you seeing commercial growth in the city? Or is anybody aware? It was commercial growth for a while there. Everything seemed to really be moving fairly quickly. But
I mean,
do we have new applicants coming on, or are we kind of stabilizing?
we have potential new applicants. We don't have anything that's like brand new, that any applications submitted at this time that we haven't talked about before, but there's a lot of conversation with different things.
And the fact is that the general plan has already been changed. And what they're requesting is a rezone request, which falls in the general plan that has previously been approved. Is the applicant present? And if so, would you like to come forward? Please state your name and address and make any comments. And commissioners, if we have any questions to ask the applicant, and now would be a good time.
Yeah, my name's Brad Brown, and I'm with Stewart Land Company. And so it's actually different, you know, we're purchasing it from the previous group that was up here and coming in, and we're gonna, you know, come in and develop it, but we're excited. I mean, I do appreciate the thought, as I hear you guys talk about it, you know, the thought that goes into it. This is, you know, I've always appreciated civil servants. This is a thankless job, and everybody, you get to hear everybody's misgivings, but don't get a lot of the, you know, when something goes right, nobody's thinking, oh, I'm glad we got a good planning commission. So I appreciate your being thoughtful about the city, and this is a great city and a good, big part of the reason we want to build here. I don't have anything necessarily to add, but I do feel like this is a good city. This project will be a good, you know, addition and a win for the city. So we're happy to be here.
Mhm. I have a question in that I know that you have been working with UDOT and on safety
Mhm.
issues, just because Highway 89 is quite a busy road. And when you're looking at potentially 64 residents, what have you found out safety wise, or what has been resolved there, or do you have any information on that?
I don't have anything new. In our discussions, they'd asked us to reach out about buffer zones and, you know, and if they had any recommendations, which they didn't. So we kind of, you know, with some of the city council went through and looked at different comparable sites and got recommendations from different planners. And then as far as that goes, UDOT is pretty, they've got their standards
Yeah.
for, you know, where access points will be, and, you know, distances, slow down distances and those things. And so
And it
most of the
was-
time, they're just, you comply.
Yeah.
It's not, they don't offer.
And it was just
discussion.
a curious question, because the truth is, the site plan is later on. And really, all we are making a decision on tonight is the rezone and does it conform with what we now have on the general plan? Any other questions?
It's kind of along that same line. Do you have ingress egress onto 89, or you're planning to go through Capstone?
Both. I mean, we're planning on having an access through Capstone. But there is that future roadway, that will be coming through. So at or around that location, we're planning on having access there as well.
But from your property at the moment, you said you does not willing to grant access to the 89?
I mean, we can get access. We have, like she said, we don't have site plan. We haven't had to go that far, but
You anticipate
the
being able to have
anticipation
it
is we'll be able to.
directly to 89 versus going up with the new road and all the other parts there.
Yeah, I mean, that new road, when that comes in, will supplant anything we have. I mean, that would be the new access point. If we have one before, it will be kind of, in place of that until that comes through, is my expectation. Obviously, we need to get everything approved through staff, but.
I guess I have a question, just more of like, from a developer's perspective on this piece of land. Especially where you're a new developer where we had, because I remember there was, the previous developer that was here. Like your market information and like what you're targeting this development to, is there certain like age demographic? Is there a certain like income level? Is there certain things that you kind of look at for something like this for this to be a profitable development for your company?
Yeah, I mean, basically I don't have exact numbers or ages,
Yeah.
but we're looking for first-time home buyer. Maybe one kid or a couple or, single work professional, that type of thing. And a lot of times it's residents that have grown up here, go to college, want to come back and live in Pleasant View, but, can't afford the full thing yet. But yeah, so that first time home buyer is what we're going for.
Okay.
And we're trying to keep it, as affordable as possible. That the governor kind of has his goals and we see that as a big need. And that's kind of the niche we're trying to fulfill. Exact numbers, will be forthcoming, but yeah. So.
Thank you.
Can I revisit the ingress egress again? Because for the RE5 zoning, it says at the bottom here, high density developments also require access to an arterial street system. It doesn't really specify whether that can be through an adjoining road or not, but I would anticipate the RE5 zoning should have access directly to an arterial road. We do at the station and the other high density developments that we've allowed. They're on 89, but they have access to 89 directly. I just wonder if that shouldn't be a stipulation of any recommendation to the city that we secure that access before.
That would all happen during the site plan.
But I don't see that we can grant a zoning that doesn't have access to an arterial road.
Perhaps our city administrator or planner could address Commissioner Gosner's concerns. And yes, that is part of the site plan, but is that something that we should be?
And I think, Dick,
Bottom of the, would be your page 3.
Isn't that part of the fire marshal's requirements?
yeah, that would be part of the fire marshal's requirements.
And they're gonna require the arterial access and that.
Yes.
But it is also part of the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'd have to look a little bit more into that, but, I think the intent with this was to have that access come off of 89 where the new road is gonna be. That's been the discussion we've had all along. Where, Skyline Drive comes down and over, that would be, and like I said, I'll check into the
The blue
arterial.
section, right?
Yeah,
No,
That dotted blue section.
that dotted blue section will be, Skyline Drive where it comes down and then crosses over the tracks.
but at this moment in time, that access is on someone else's property.
Yeah,
So I'm just curious, seems like we ought to have some statement from the state of Utah that they would allow access in the meantime,
So-
before you change the zoning.
Well, our access off 89, there's no reason to think we would get that access, whether or not this new road is coming through.
mhm.
Our property's on there, they have the regulations, but we fall within what would be allowable. for
I'd just be
access.
surprised they'll roll over that easily where you have access through Capstone for general use. I don't know, would be a question in my mind.
As I understand it, one thing even with the rezone, if it gets rezoned, the site plan still has to be approved with all of those concerns addressed.
Right.
So even if we approve the rezone, if it came down to it, the fire marshal or the access was not approved to UDOT, the development does not go in.
So am I understanding it that until this future blue road that's dotted is in, the city can't approve? Or are we needing the fire marshal to, it seems like the developer would want to know that now before we,
Until that road's coming through, we don't have to use the future city road.
okay,
We could get an access onto 89. And as far as the fire marshal concerned, I mean, the rule is off one access, you get 30 units, unsprinklered or more if you sprinkle them. And, and the access points do have to be approved at the discretion of the fire marshal.
And what we are doing tonight is a recommendation to the city council, and along with that.
Yeah, I can get some more
So-
clarification.
Somebody, that can be part of a motion to get clarification on that, because it's a recommendation, and we are not final authority on this one. So, are there any more questions for the applicant?
Do you anticipate being able to build 64 units with the roadways going through? I would think you'd probably be somewhat less than that.
We think we can get 64.
Are you?
And just transparently, we're kind of just blocking off from that access point and staying to the south of it, depending on, what that future road might look like.
Okay.
We're covered.
I'm generally in favor of what you're proposing, that you would have a trip point though at 50 units, where there are more regulations involved than under 50 units. So we maybe should make that part of a motion as well, if we were to look at that.
Any other questions for the applicant? Hey, thank you so much. Okay, this is a public hearing, or needs to be a public hearing. So if someone would like to make a motion. Okay, we are now open.
a second.
And once again, we have.
Peggy seconded.
Who did?
Who wants to be the official second?
John.
John's quick on the
We're
gun.
letting, John Morris be the second one,
Okay.
second on this one for the record. Okay, we are open for a public hearing. Is there, I don't believe we have anybody present here. Is there anybody online? Or have you received any comments previously or
We have not received any comments.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Stokes. And we have a second by, who wants it, Chad
I'll
or
take it.
Jeff?
I'll take it.
Chad is taking it.
Take it.
Commissioner Cotter's
Take it.
claiming it. So the public hearing is closed. So we can take a minute and discuss here. Any other questions, concerns, taking?
Okay, I'll say it and I'm done. So generally, this hasn't been my preferred area for residential. I'm kind of like Chad, I'm of the opinion that this should have stayed. Manufacturing, commercial, industrial, whatever, some kind of commercial use. That being said, it has changed. It did get changed, and so, and it falls within the general plan, and so, I mean, while it's not my preferred, I would be okay with it. But I'm probably okay.
Oh, your motion.
No,
Oh, you're not gonna motion?
Well,
he just asked me what I thought.
okay, so any other comments?
There's been some very good comments and questions that I think will come back, that needs to come back. But I think I feel the same as Commissioner Belenbrook, that maybe there's,
A plus that
Could
you
go
have a
both
charter
way,
school
but
next
it's-
door. My biggest concern when this was very first brought up is that you don't have a school for several miles away. All of those children are gonna have to cross the highway or be bused. It's not an ideal spot for residential, but it is. Yeah, not an ideal spot for a lot of things. I mean, the commercial, they looked at commercial, the previous owners did, and that's not an easy sell either to break it up. You know, I mean, hats off for making an effort to make a piece of property work.
and I do have a sense that we're kind of closing the circle, or closing the loop here. Because it's kind of gone down the road.
You know, if only we had a crystal ball that we could see Pleasant View in 10 or 20 years. And then we could say, you know what? We made a mistake there, or hey, we did the, we went forward and it was a good choice. A reminder, this is a recommendation. So if anybody would like to make a motion, we are open to entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve as presented by staff. But I would like some help with the conditions. I read one of the conditions, which is valid rezone to the community egress situation, future.
I think we should maybe clarify too, whether it's over 50 units or under. Because you have different regulations based on below 50 units.
My motion.
Hey. Okay, we got it.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table from Commissioner Stokes with a recommendation and also,
Verification.
yeah, verification, a verification or a concern that we would like brought up to city council. Is there a second?
Should we read the whole thing back just before we clarify it?
I mean, if you, can you read it back to us as you have it?
Okay, so a motion to approve,
A
recommend approval
recommendation of approval.
with verification of the egress requirements.
Ingress, egress,
Ingress,
ingress slash
yes.
egress
Yes,
for
And
the
based-
RE5 zone.
yes, based on the number of units.
Well, with additional
And I'll-
consideration of
Yeah,
the number of units being over 50.
Commissioner Stokes, are you good with that
We'll go through and get it all. cleaned up
addition
in the
or
recording.
clarification with,
Yeah, I'm good with that.
uh, with Commissioner Gosner?
No. No, so part of the question. I understand the reluctance in the indecisiveness. Dealing with this. When you look at that whole area as a whole, and if you try and look 10 to 50 years in the future, we know there's enough land out there for 6 or 7 Farmington stations. We know that we're going to have residential out there. Is it ideal to start between the highway and the traffic? Not. But I think with that overpass being so close, I think I could see a school going out there. I think I could see a lot more homes, high density homes going in out there to help support industrial, athletic complexes, all kinds of stuff. We have the ability to build a whole lot of stuff out there. This is kind of a necessary stepping stone because in order to attract the businesses that want to come in and be a part of an area like Farmington Station, we have to have heartbeats in the community to do that. And if we don't raise our community count, it doesn't attract the retailers that we need to support our city. So I too am a little bit reluctant, but I too can also see that overpass is help. More factor. Not.
Okay,
Got it.
so we've got the motion on the table as stated with the clarification. And Tammy Evison has read it back to us.
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a second from Commissioner Gosner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So this passes unanimously with the recommendations and the concerns as expressed. Okay. So once again, we express appreciation for all of those who have helped with this postponed meeting, all of you who showed up. Is there any communication from city administration that you would like to give us? Or do we as commissioners have any thing that we wanted to bring up to administration? Okay.
Happy seat for the mile.
Oh,
Shoot, I was gonna get
it-
tacos.
you know what? Maybe we should all go out afterwards for flan or something. I don't know.
Will we be having another meeting prior to, I guess, June, the first meeting in June prior to Founder's Day? Just wanted to
June 5th is our next scheduled meeting.
So June 5th. Okay,
plan to?
so we've got somebody going to be done then. Okay, could we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion that we adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Gosner.
Colin.
Oh, Cotter, sorry, and a second by Commissioner Bolingbroke. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so this meeting is adjourned at 6:53 PM. We rocked.
Identify the public.